I would like to begin by welcoming all of you this morning to Temple Isaiah. I am Rabbi Joshua Gray, and I am honored and privileged to be able to help honor the life of Dr. Stephen Brodsky and to be a small part of his rich life and life cycle. So thank you to all who are allowing me to honor him today, his wonderful family, wife Judy, his children Sharon, David, and Kenny, his 6 beloved grandchildren Sophia, Alexander, Jonah, Max, Sam, and Nathan, also his brother Nick, all of his loved ones and friends as well. Dr. Brodsky was a physician, serving his community for many years. He was a lover of cars, a rider of his e-bike, a gym goer, a chess player, a lifelong learner. He did his own research, I heard, to make sure he was always doing things the best way, to the best of his ability. He was also handy, and he loved to travel. He loved his family. Perhaps above all, Dr. Stephen Brodsky was a piece of our story, both his family's and the story of our people. I would like to begin by chanting the first 2 lines of the Shema. This prayer reminds us of the oneness and unity of the world. No beginning and no end. What exist are connections that make echad, that make one. So as these words are chanted, let's let our individual and our collective connections to Stephen bring his singular energy into this space with us as we honor and remember him. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Hear, O Israel, Adonai is God, Adonai is one. Blessed is Adonai's glorious name forever and ever. We read from Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni, alamei menuchot yanahaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni bamagle tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech baged salmavet lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai. Dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov vachesed yirdafuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti bevet Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai is my shepherd. I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in the right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. As we remember Stephen, we remember mourning is the price we pay for having courage, the courage to love others. Even as we grieve, we know that the wonder of human life is far too complex, it is too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit that Stephen gave cannot be measured, they cannot be weighed, they cannot be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of his light, some of his warmth that shone from his very neshama, his soul, it will always be with us. It brings comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. We now chant from Psalm 121 as we turn our eyes upward toward the mountain, when we feel as if the road we are walking on is too dark and too difficult. Sometimes we must avert our eyes and turn towards God. Esaenai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esaenai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael, Adonai shomrecha. Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzeitecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam. A song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian, Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming, now and forever. As we remember Stephen, we also remember that death will come. We cannot enter in judgment with it. Our question, why, will always go unanswered. This does not mean, however, that we are helpless and hopeless in the face of death. We can and we do rob death of ultimate victory by living our lives, so that when death comes, it takes us from a world, one corner of which is even just a little bit better because we were there. So it is with Stephen. So it is with Dr. Brodsky. We remember him, as we join our hearts together in a state of echad, a state of oneness, to give comfort and strength to his family and all who mourn him. This time of mourning is filled with so many emotions, bitterness to sweetness and everywhere in between. We begin our service with these readings and these prayers. They link the life of Stephen with the tradition of all people, all of us, the people Israel, and the eternity of God. I say, you who heal the brokenhearted, bind up these mourners' wounds, grant comfort and consolation as they face their grief, fill their lives with acts of loving kindness, gemilut chasadim, and truth, emet. These serve as the genuine memorial to our dear Stephen. The deep bond of love will forever remain unbroken. Again, I would like to thank all of you who are with us today and also those of you viewing this via live stream. It's so great to have so many honoring the life of one of our people, Dr. Stephen Brodsky. Jewish tradition teaches us that every soul is precious, it's pure, it's beautiful, and needed in this world, and every person is an entire world. When we lose someone, it is as if we have lost that world, and that loss is great. The impact of their lives and what they did is also great, and it's infinitely everlasting. Stephen lived a life of service to his community, and he leaves behind a singular legacy that we will hear about now from those who knew him much better than I. To offer words, I will begin by reading the words of his beloved wife, Judy, straight from her heart. I am learning I am not in control and cannot plan. We were supposed to be in Prague now. After 62 years of marriage, I am still learning things about Steve. We met at Adelphi and got married during his first year of medical school. He graduated from Chicago Medical School and did his residency at Albany Medical Center. This was followed by 2 years in the Air Force stationed in Hawaii. After completing his residency at Maimonides in Brooklyn, we moved to Setauket, where we lived until recently, and downsized to Lake Grove. Steve knew he wanted to be a doctor at a young age. It was truly his passion. He loved helping people, and even after he retired, he was always available to help everyone. He remained a respected member of the medical community. Steve was very strong and marched to his own tune. He always knew what he wanted. He was a perfectionist and never settled for second best. Steve was very proud of his children, Sharon, Kenny, and David. He was very patient with his grandchildren, Sophia, Alexander, Jonah, Max, Sam, and Nathan. He enjoyed the family vacations. He truly loved his family. Steve became ill last November and tried very hard to remain upbeat and optimistic. He didn't share his fears or pain trying to protect his family. Anyone who knows Steve knows he loved cars. I would find a new car in the garage. The latest was his Tesla, which was a long-time dream. And of course, the Thunderbird, which gave him much joy. He will be missed very much. Donations to Leukemia Lymphoma Society would be much appreciated. Thank you all for coming today. Life is about the people we connect with. P.S. If anyone is interested, we have a Tesla for sale. Thank you, Judy. I will now also read the words straight from the heart of Stephen's daughter, Sharon. Sharon says, "During this past week, I was flooded by different thoughts and memories that I thought I would put together into a speech. However, it has been transformed in so many different ways, even up until a few hours before the service. I am still unclear if I want to write or say anything and what the purpose will be. My father is not here to hear the good things that I have to say about him. I suppose that when we speak at somebody's funeral, it is not only to talk about the memories that we have with them, but what we have learned from them and how they have affected us and who we are. I think that the most important thing that I learned from my father is how to live your life to the fullest, to look forward, to not hold on to the past, and to not worry about the future. I believe that my father lived his life this way, regardless of the stresses and barriers that were put in front of him. Another thing that I learned from my father, which I will probably continue to work on indefinitely, is taking things one step at a time and dealing with them as they come and maintaining a positive outlook. I tend to jump to step number 10 when step 1 hasn't even begun. He always stood by me during the very difficult times and also during the good times. I was able to have some very open and difficult conversations with him, even though he didn't always have the answers that I wanted to hear. He did offer to give me the answers that I wanted to hear, but he made sure that I understood that that's all that they were. I will always hold on to so many special memories of family, vacations, and holidays spent together. As a young child, I remember a time when my mother was having company. She needed us out of the house, and so my father took us from beach to beach, looking to buy a beach. My children are so familiar with this story that when they were smaller, they asked if Grandpa could do the same thing with them. Another memory is the time that my mother was away for the weekend and I accompanied him to a shower for one of the nurses. I don't remember if it was a bridal shower or a baby shower. It was heartwarming to see the interaction that he had with the people that he worked with. During my dating years before I met McKay, my father set me up on a date with somebody that he had known from the hospital. I hold on to this memory because to me it seemed out of character. My father had explained that a lot of the nurses confided in him about how hard it was to date and to meet people, and so he was sympathetic to my situation and tried to take an active role. I have learned that we all have different relationships with the same people, and they are all unique and bring a different light into our lives. Making connections and keeping connections is very important, and families get smaller and larger and keep on changing. I hope that we can all continue to maintain our connections and support for one another, sharing the good times and the difficult times. Thank you, Sharon. Now, for some words, I would like to invite up Stephen's son, David.
Thank you all for coming. I really wish we were all getting together under different circumstances. It's really nice to see so many of you. We haven't seen in so many years. You know, it's interesting hearing the rabbi speak and from Sharon's speech so many of the things about my dad, and this is just a short story that is just emblematic of who he was. When I was 10, my parents put in a swimming pool. During the installation, the entire backyard was torn apart. Shortly afterwards, thousands of bricks were delivered and dropped in the backyard. Over the course of the next several months, my siblings, me, and sometimes our friends embarked on our first job. Our job was to carry and wheel small stacks of bricks from the many pallets into the backyard. There, throughout every weekend day, and sometimes even weekday evenings, my father could be found working his way, one by one, through an enormous matrix of sand-filled wood-frame boxes. That summer, for a nickel a brick, we helped to build an enormous, professional-grade, herringbone-patterned patio. I think in total it was 8,000 or 9,000 bricks. The quality of the work was far from happenstance. My father had mapped it out, modeled it, and he was ready to go. This was the first time he had moonlighted as a bricklayer. He was confident and patient. He laid each row of brick and had his trusty level and rubber mallet by his side. When the patio was complete, it looked quite good and held up for many years and stood as the surface for so many immediate and broader family gatherings. As I think back, being involved as a young apprentice in this project and so many others that my father took on, I witnessed my father take these new challenges, doing new things that he had no experience with prior to starting. Bearing witness to this has helped to create the framework for my own life. As I face new situations and challenges, I can most often now take a step back and do it with the confidence that if I also exercise patience and plan thoughtfully, I can create and accomplish so many things. I see this confidence as a gift that my father passed on. I loved my dad very much, and I will miss him.
And now to share some words with us, I invite up to the bima Stephen's son-in-law, McKay.
Yes, can you hear? Yeah. I'll make you happy. I'll make it short and sweet. So I just prepared a few notes in my, I don't have a printer, so I'll speak out of my mind. Printer didn't work, sorry, Sharon, for me either. So I just have prepared a few remarks. I call them 5 big thank you to Steve, and they're very genuine. So first of all, Steve, thank you for marrying your wife. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's been an amazing ride in the last 22 years. I wouldn't have met my wonderful wife, Sharon, and I wouldn't have my wonderful kids. So thank you again for having the wisdom to marry Judy back in '62, if I have my years correct. The second big thing is thank you for accepting me, Steve. I am a Protestant boy marrying a Jewish girl from Long Island. That is a joke in America. Jewish wives are known to run their household and their families, and today I've learned that's a huge compliment to you, Sharon, for doing all the work you're doing. But thank you, Steve, for accepting me. There has never been a snide remark or comment. It has been just genuine warmth to me for being who I am and coming from the Protestant Christian background that I'm coming from. So thank you for accepting me. The third thing, which is incredibly important to me, is that thank you, Steve, for taking interest in each one of the grandchildren. I know Nate, even if you may not have returned a phone call for a month or 3 or 6, Steve was always there thinking about you. And thank you for taking my kids out to lunches and dinners, and Steve, along with Judy, a number of times said, no, Michael, of course you're welcome, but we kind of do this takeout so we have a one-to-one relation with the kids. And that is incomprehensibly valuable to me, that you had the interest, to you as well, Judy, that you had interest to have a one-to-one relationship with our grandchildren. I'm sure you, Kenny, and you, David, feel the same way. There were a number of times over the last 5 years where we said, "You're going to Boston? You're 82 years old and you're driving to Boston and it's February?" No, well, we haven't seen the family, David and his family, and for whatever period of time. So there was nothing that could stop you from that. Sharon and I knew that. Sharon tried many times to stop you going up there. The fourth thank you, which is also highly valuable to me on a personal level, that is thank you for being so incredibly handy. Steve, you got me out of trouble a number of times. And the last one I can remember is only a couple of months ago, where going out to the swing door, we have a glass door to the patio like we all have, and that little bar thing on the left-hand side, I think we replaced it 3 times, and now the wood was ripped, and it was ripped. I worked on it for a couple of times, and lo and behold, one day I came home, it was fixed. Steve was there. I think it took him 6 hours. He had to go back to Home Depot a couple of times, but he would not go to sleep until that door worked properly. And I would have probably still be working on it 4 months later if it would have been me, because I'm mechanically, incomprehensibly not good or bad. The thumb is here. I can build a database for a hospital, but I can't hold a screwdriver straight. The fifth thing, which is equally important to me, thank you, Steve, for always being interested and taking time. And the last very specific memory to that is only last either Friday or Saturday night when he was over and had barbecue with us. And we had a political discussion, and I think we sat there after we had dinner to talk for at least half an hour, 45 minutes. He was getting cold, and we could definitely, of course, sense that he was not well. But as several other people said, he did not let his complaints and probably pretty intense pain float to the surface and get the better of him, like it would when I have a cold. Ask Sharon. I go out of commission, and I lay in bed and demand to be served hot soup. But Steve was a true trooper, but most of all, he took time and genuine interest in listening. So whatever subject I brought up, or what I asked him about, he took time and discussed it and had a genuine interest in what other people were doing. He asked me every month, how is the company going? How are you doing with all your people that you have employed, and how are things going? So the fifth and final point, thank you, Steve, for being so interested in other people. You will be dearly loved and missed.
Thank you. To share some words with us this morning, I would like to invite up our own Rabbi Emeritus of Temple Isaiah and longtime rabbi of Stephen and his family, Rabbi Adam Fisher.
It is really an honor for me to say a few words honoring Dr. Brodsky. He was our doctor for over 20 years. And during that time, my wife confronted breast cancer, and he was always there, always interested. He was absolutely devoted to his patients, was very, very conscientious about everything. And he was also not an alarmist, and he also was very conservative about medication. So during this time, we were privileged to be patients of his. He loved medicine. He was absolutely devoted to it. And he felt it was a calling and not a business. And when he was concerned about, he became concerned about business aspects of it, he closed his practice. And at that time, we lost our dear doctor, but he continued in many ways to serve this community and continued to devote himself to medicine in other ways. I also became, as the rabbi here, I became acquainted with his family, and we went through some very happy times, and also a very, very sad time during that period. And so it was a great privilege for me to be not only his patient, but also his rabbi and part of his family as well. And so he will be missed terribly. When I got news of his death, I was absolutely shocked and felt this was a terrible loss, not only for his wonderful family, but for the entire community. We have lost not only a friend and a very fine physician as well.
Thank you all for offering such heartfelt words that really highlight the indelible mark that Stephen has left on this earthly plane as he moves on to his olam haba, his world to come, his next journey. As we pray together for the departed soul of Stephen today, we chant Amalei Rachamim, or God of abundant mercy. I ask you, if willing and able, to kindly rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah, B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Tohorim, Ki Zohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Nachum ben Avraham Shehalach La'olamo, B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchato. Ana ba'al rachamim, yasirehu beseiter kenafav l'olamim. Veyitzror bitzror hachayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato. Ve'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one Stephen, who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. El Malei Rachamim, compassionate God, hold Stephen close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you and may he rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. As we transition to the mourner's Kaddish, I do invite you, if you would like to follow along, to take a prayer book. If you're in the front row, they are on the seats below the seats, and they should be on the seat in front of you, our Mishkan Tefillah, if you'd like to follow along. Reform Siddur, on page 598. I'll give you a moment to get there if you'd like. So in our tradition, we recite the mourner's Kaddish or Kaddish Yatom, and we ask God to grant our souls true connection, and may we feel divine love as we recite these words that are hallowed by time, sanctifying the name of God. We honor the beloved memory of Dr. Stephen Brodsky today as we join in saying, Yit Gadol ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divara chirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah mivorach leolam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh. Ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal. Shemei dekudasha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata. Tush bechata ve'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. As we remember Stephen, I say Zeker Tzadik Livracha, may his righteous memory forever be for blessing. You may kindly be seated. Okay. So, when talking just yesterday with Stephen's family, they brought up how he really did like to do things his own way. They mentioned that the song My Way by Frank Sinatra would be very appropriate to have sung at his memorial service. I don't think they were 100% serious. At first, this was said with a bit of hesitation, but we all rest assured that this was the right thing to do, that we can find holiness and we can find beauty in many things. To honor Dr. Stephen Brodsky's spirit of doing it his way, we will end our service this morning with a testament to just that, the singing of My Way. See how this... And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to to mention. I did what I had to do. Each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way. May the Holy One of blessing, from whom all things come and to whom all things return, give us light and peace on this day of grief and mourning. As we were all born of the earth, Ha'adamah, may our beloved Stephen return to the source joyfully, free from pain. May our service of memory for Stephen bring comfort and strength. Please live on. With Stephen being a part of who you are and who you will be, may we all walk forth now in peace, l'chaim, to life. I invite you, after our mourners have exited, to join us in the social hall. Thank you. I ask you to kindly rise if willing and able at this time as well.